Welcome back to the Rock and Roll channel. Florida State football right around the corner. And with that in mind, I have a very, very special guest on. We got Brian Smith from the Locked On Seminoles podcast. He drops daily content, podcast, and on YouTube, does live streams as well. And really is just always chock full of information. And something I always appreciate about Brian, and I haven't told him this yet, is he's not afraid to talk about the tough stuff. And he'll drop nuggets that you don't hear from a lot of other beat writers. So, Brian, it's great to have you on here today. Thank you so much for joining.
Absolutely, Jeremy. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. So, I said we'd get right into it. Obviously, I still remember after the North Carolina game, you were a little down on Norvell, as was I. I wonder why.
I've had 100 times that I've said he should have been fired. The only reason he didn't get fired is because of his contract. That's still the truth.
I agree. And I think Alfred didn't want that egg on his face either.
They just don't have the money to give up $50-some million.
Right.
No.
Right. No, I agree. And I agreed with you 100% then. And that's what I was going to say. Has anything surprised you so far with fall camp so far? For the better, for the worse, for in between?
A little bit of both, mostly good. The first thing that I want to say, and this is one of the reasons I like college football. I know Florida State's roster like really, really well. I mean, I do it daily. I cover recruiting on the Portal podcast. In addition to doing Locked On Seminoles, recruiting is my gig. I'd forgotten who Jaden Jones even was because he was out last year. I'm like, wait, I know that name. Who is that? Because he got mentioned. And he missed last. He got a knee or something. I can't remember what it was, but he was out. He's a JUCO kid that got buried in 23 because they were so deep. He's a defensive end, obviously. They were loaded. And then last year he gets screwed because he gets injured. And all of a sudden he emerges now. That is why college football is awesome. He was the biggest surprise to me because I'd literally forgotten about him. But that's okay. Sometimes it just happens that way. You know, football is crazy with injuries anyhow. But guys just keep going through and persevering. And he came up to the microphone the other day at one of the press conferences, and he said he loved the practice and the competition, and whatever happens, happens. I'm like, give me more of this.
Right.
Instead of all the idiot brigade that I deal with, especially the parents and the third uncles around some of these recruits I deal with that are just, gimme, gimme, gimme. And, you see guys that are magically out of a program, that's usually got something to do with it. It's just very impolitical correct to go and talk about it, but you're gonna have to worry about that with Jones. So Florida State, they got the Williams kid that transferred in from Nebraska. He's probably your primary pass rusher, but you need 3 or 4. I don't know what year you go back to following Florida State, but like Bernard Wilson, Peter Boulware.
That was my first year in Tallahassee, those guys.
Yeah, see, so that like 94 through, the early 2000s, they got to the point where they got lucky because, I mean, you're not always going to hit, but they hit on DN like every freaking year. It was unbelievable. But anyway, I'm not saying Jaden is Peter Boulware. Let me start with that. Peter had like 70 or 80 sacks in the NFL. Like he was a real guy.
We had a third guy who had just as many sacks in that group, Greg Spires.
Yeah, Spires was a power player that he didn't get his – I mean, he had a cup of coffee in the NFL for a little while too.
Got a ring.
So it was an incredible group. But anyway, they had that effort. They didn't care who started the game. They didn't care, who got in on it. They just played. And that's why Florida State was good. I see that with Jaden, just based on like his body language tells you he is real. He's not one of these fake fools that just coming in looking for the NIL check. And a lot of that was going on in Tallahassee last year. And that's why they sucked. The locker room was screwed. Too many guys worried about the paycheck.
Yeah.
That's not happening now. That helps. That's first thing. Secondarily, I didn't really know what to expect with Thomas Castellanos. I knew him from the high school ranks. I used to cover UCF. I went to go see him. I've been around him 50 times. I knew he'd come in and compete hard, but I was always worried that he would just get banged up or something during the season. We'll still have to see with that. But all returns are that he is in it. In other words, he really wants to be a part of this, be a part of the team. I don't care what organization you're a part of, whoever your leader is, if they're not all the way bought in, you are screwed.
Right.
It's like he's involved and they'll have a chance to win any given game. Now I can just tell you from being around town, he's going to take a lot of risks. He's going to tick some fans off, not only with taking hits, throwing the ball where he should and all that, but he's also going to make wild plays that lead in on SportsCenter. So it'll be up and down, but at least they have a chance because of the quarterback. And then finally, maybe my biggest surprise, I knew I liked Tony White, but my goodness, his accountability with the whole Conrad Hussey thing. And he's another guy I know, like I've heard that was coming. So they did what they needed to, and they cut bait.
Yeah.
Would Norvell have done that?
No. And here's my reason why. I thought about this, and this is coming from me. I really think Adam Fuller was a follower. I owe my career 100%. To you. And I'm trying to be rude by saying that. I've made more money than I ever have because of you. Whatever you say, sir. Where I think Tony White came in and said, listen, you're the boss. I know that, but this kid's a troublemaker. This kid's causing problems. If I were you, I'd have him gone. Where Tony's an alpha, where he's going to say what's on his mind. Mike has to make the final call, but I think Tony's going to speak his mind more.
I think that's
Mike has to have that push because Mike is almost too loyal sometimes to players.
I tell people this all the time, and it's very touchy, and it gets into many different political realms, but there are a couple of sayings that I have for college football coaches. Show me a coach that is always loyal to his assistants, and I'll show you a head coach that's about to be fired. And show me a coach, whether it's assistant or head coach, that doesn't take recruiting seriously, and I'll also show you a coach that is about to be fired. Norvell's not a very good recruiter. He's not. He's very average by head coaching, although he's gotten better at it. And he's also way too loyal. Yep. Those two things will get you in a lot of trouble. I don't know what I don't know the whole background with why he picked Coach White and those guys. Mm-hmm. And obviously he knows, I mean, he worked for Gus. Right. And I know Gus from covering UCF. He's a great guy. But I think this is going to work because Gus just kind of wants to do what he doesn't want to deal with any recruiting or NIL or any of that. He doesn't want to deal with it. He's just done. But Tony, he's looking for a very specific type of player, wants to win, and this is pure speculation on my part. I think he wants to be at Florida State about 2 years and go get a head job. I don't blame him. And I think he will be. He could be the Florida State's next head coach. It wouldn't shock me. If Mike screws up enough and the defense is still good, they could hire him. Anything's possible. But this is a guy that understands it. Here's the stat that I tell everybody on Locked On Seminoles all the time about Mike, or about Tony, excuse me. He went to Nebraska from Syracuse, and no offense to Nebraska, but they do not have the same level of athletes that Georgia does, and LSU and Florida State and Miami, et cetera, especially on the edges. They became the 9th best run defense in the country the first year Tony was in Lincoln. And I was like, whoa. Because I know they were in the Big Ten West, and that part of the league is garbage.
Right.
But you're still top 10. I mean, that's top 25-ish in the SEC, I would guess. I'm good with that because Florida State last year, that North Carolina game in particular, the one you mentioned a few minutes ago, let's be really honest. They were running straight fullback dives for 8 and 10 yards.
Oh, yeah.
Florida State completely quit.
Mm-hmm. That second half.
And I would guarantee you that is at least one of the reasons that Norvell went and got Tony, because he won't tolerate that. He doesn't care about your number. He doesn't care what year you are. He doesn't care what you did last year or even in the last practice. Are you right now going at it all the way and doing what we ask? These are just black and white check boxes. That's it. So they need that. And I'll get into more with some of the more difficult stuff that you kind of mentioned earlier, a little bit later in the pod, but there's going to be some more attrition between now and the end of the season. And it's a good thing. The fans may not understand it, but this is a slow process. College football rosters are like the government. They move very slow in terms of getting to where you want to be.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate, but even if you change a bunch of guys, that's not the key. It's the same guys back year after year after year. Florida State's at least 2 more years away, at least. And I know fans don't want to hear that. They're throwing things at the TV. It's just true. This is what I do for a living. Roster management, and Florida's roster management is garbage. It's got a long way to go, but Tony White's one of the keys to getting it to where it needs to go, because they'll win with what they have now to the best of their ability, and that'll attract more high-end guys. So I'm thrilled that Coach White is in Tallahassee, and I think there'll be a game or two you're like, man, what happened? Like, Florida State just beat the bejesus out of them. He can scheme it up, and I mean, they got Big Darrell. I mean, Shaheem Brown may not even start. He was like the leading tackler that's returning from last season. They've got players. It's not 95 Knowles, but it's still really good. And I think that they're going to surprise a few people, especially on defense.
No, I think they bought into him as well, which is I don't care how good a coach you are. If they don't buy into you, it's not going to be successful. Because I watched his first press conference, and I just had flashbacks to when Jimbo first came. And I watched Jimbo's first press conference, and I said, that's not a coordinator. That's a head coach. And that's the feeling I have with Tony White. I think if he was happy with Matt Rule at Nebraska, he doesn't come to Florida State. Now, maybe it's a quicker path to get a head coaching job with us, because if I clean this mess up, look how attractive I've become to other schools. But I like him. He even holds all his coaches accountable.
That's important. Like,
it's so important.
If you're not recruiting at a high level, you hit a floor that you can't go up the next level. Florida State has always been, I've joked with people about this all the time. A dead cat could recruit to Florida State just because of the location.
Right.
I mean, you can get anybody into a generic state school. I mean, I'll just be honest, academic, and then get anybody they want in. They got history, and you're in frickin' Florida. So if you put in effort, if you don't sign a top 15 class every year, you're failing. And that was my biggest complaint with Norvell. That's why they got in the spot they were to get in the portal problem. And again, I'll get into that later, but I digress. So I'm hoping that this year is going to at least help cleanse a little bit, get back to a bowl, and they can get the bad or the dead wood out of the program. And they got a pretty good freshman class and can let some of those guys come up to the Nasir twins, et cetera. Let some of those guys come up the ranks, get some playing time this year, Boggs and all those guys. And then next year you start building. And then by 27, okay, you've got a chance to at least compete for the playoff. That's my objective.
And we're lucky we're in the era now with the portal, because if we had 2-10 a year ago, you're minimum 4 or 5 years before you can get back to contention.
That was the weird part about it. I'll just dive into it this way. I track every P4 program in some capacity, especially with O-line recruiting, D-line recruiting, a quarterback. And again, I'm kind of like Tony White. We'd probably get along. Are you not hitting the numbers measurements out of the high school ranks at O-line, which Florida State did not, and the quality on it?
Even Jimbo.
Yeah, and that didn't make any sense because he's an offensive mind and a really good recruiter. I'll never understand that. But
you never evaluated well there. No, but I'm saying from Jimbo through Willie through Mike, we've just never hit. Jimbo had one class that hit, and you won a national title with it. Other than before and after that,
yeah,
it's just been a revolving door of mediocre players at that position.
They have to get back to it. And the freshman class they have now, they've got some good offensive linemen. They've got a few guys committed that are good. They're going to be good offensive linemen. The key to Florida State now is, and this is the chicken and the egg.
Right.
The elite players will not come until they see you win, but it's hard to win without they're going to have to find a way to overcome. I mean, they got Herb Hand. He's a very veteran coach. Another guy I know from UCF. They've got to prove to the elite O-line, hey, Florida State is a place you can come, win big, and go to the NFL. Used to be that way.
Yeah.
Walter Jones and Brett Williams. And they had, O-line's been Florida State's biggest nemesis over the years, but they've still had some great players. For what's happened here lately, though, Jeremy, it's comical. Literally, the bottom of the barrel MAC teams were just as good as Florida State on the O-line last year.
There were some guys on the first team that would not have been, and would barely have made the scout team when I was there in the 90s. And I'm not trying to be rude, but it was that level. That's why people don't understand what Dalvin Cook did to break the school rushing record in 2.5 years with subpar of offensive lines.
If he would have played behind like a Georgia or Notre Dame or Iowa or Texas line, oh my God, yeah, could you he would be this year's Jeremiah Love if he was at Notre Dame. It'd be the same thing, if not better. He's
Heisman, top 5 pick, you name it.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook, by the way, doesn't get enough love in the NFL, but of course the NFL is not very running back centric. But anyway,
no, he's had trouble staying healthy. That's also his problem.
Yeah, well, that's why it's not very running back. it's
not very running back centric, and that's the shortest shelf life of any position.
Yeah.
So, man, you hit on some great points there because I'm excited for Tony. I have no problem with Gus. I wanted Mike to bring somebody in who just handed over the offense. I don't know how Mike's going to handle the CEO role. I watched him today or yesterday's press conference. He looked tired and beat up. Now, it's towards the end of camp. I get it. But it was a little surprising. Maybe he's starting to feel the pressure a little bit with Bama coming up. He's never really shown that in the past before the first game, where he's a high-energy guy. He doesn't seem to have that energy. Maybe I'm overthinking it, overreading it. I've questioned our strength and conditioning program after last year with Josh Storms. I don't know how you feel about that with Josh.
Without being in Tallahassee and seeing the kids live, it's not the same. You physically got to be on the field.
That's true.
Know that stuff, and I don't live there, so I can't really speak to it.
Yeah, same here. I mean, just when we talked about Landon Thomas yesterday saying end of summer injury. Now, I haven't heard that term before. I guess that could be anything. Maybe he got hurt in a workout. I don't know. But that being said, the Jaden Jones stuff surprised Usman Kroma. He seems to be the hot topic, the buzz out of camp so far. And I thought we had decent running backs coming back with Roydell and Sawchuk. Do you think Usman ends up starting at least by the fourth game?
I don't know which game I would put, but before the season's over, the key with any freshman, and he's the most physically gifted running back they have, is the ability to pick up the playbook and pass protect.
Right.
I was watching, I won't go into detail, but I was watching a press conference for another school today. I watch a lot of press conference, try to pick up stuff. And a coach was asked about the receivers, who's filling out the depth. We know the starters, who are the next guys. And he mentioned this freshman he had. And he goes, he's elite. He goes, the problem is he can't pick up the playbook enough yet. Coaches, as I say this all the time on Locked On Seminoles, are the most stubborn people on earth. They do not want to put you in for a couple of plays and just run specialty plays. I don't know what – I mean, there's certain offenses you can do that. But if you've got a pretty big playbook, freshmen are going to struggle. Florida State's offense, the way Gus runs it, it's a lot of RPO. It's pretty basic.
Right.
It's a college offense. It's a little easier, but at the same time, eventually he's going to have to learn how to pass protect at an elite level. I haven't heard them say anything about it, but I guarantee he's not very good at it because no freshman is.
They have said something about it. They said he's been terrific at that.
I need to see it then.
Oh, yeah. When Alabama's blitzing you, it's a little different when they're looking to, take off your quarterback.
That they have coming, like the Lawson kid at linebackers, like he's going to play 5-6 years in the NFL.
Right.
When he gets to charge at you, I need to see you be able to hold up without getting hit like a gnat by a Mack truck. So that's the concern, and they know that. That's unfortunate, but you cannot have somebody who's already a running quarterback getting extra smacks in the backfield. Plus, there's a chance fumble and all that other stuff too. So when Chrome is in, is it going to be more obvious that a run is more likely? Again, they're going to run a lot of RPO, but that's the problem with freshmen. There are so many little nuances that the defensive coordinator automatically knows. It's just the open book rule. So I think he will end up starting second half of the season after like the second bye or whatever. But before then, I think it won't really matter who starts. They'll rotate about 3 guys. And then my favorite offensive weapon, Jalen Lucas, is a guy that I don't care if he's in the game at running back. I just want him to be in the game a lot. Yeah. I think him and Squirrel will be the key to the screen game. I'm sure Boggs, who I think will start as well, is another one. Jalen Boggs, for those that don't know, I think it's receiving yardage in the state of Florida all time. He's number 1.
Right.
He played at Cocoa. He didn't play 1A football. They played St. Thomas Aquinas and all these schools. Like, they did not care. So I'm curious to see what he does too. But all the little weapons they have, it still comes back to Thomas because he's got to be the distributor instead of trying to be Superman. And he's got a very big ego. He knows he's a great athlete, but he needs to do less to make the team do more. That'll be a big question.
No, I completely agree. So we talked about surprises. Let me ask you a question. We talked about Norvell in the beginning. What do you see from Mike now? Do you see anything different in your eyes as saying, I'm opening my eyes more to maybe he's a different man going into this year, learn from last year?
Yeah, I mean, you already said one of them. He's giving, allegedly. I'll get into this a little more. I never believe a play caller that's the head coach giving up the play calling duties completely. Mm-hmm. That's just not the nature of human beings. However, at least allowing somebody that he trusts, that's a mentor, to come in, there's going to be more of it. My only concern with that is when there's a critical play call and they don't agree, is he going to take Gus off? Because Gus is a control freak too.
Yeah, that's what yeah,
at some point there's going to be a riff. And that's why I don't think this will last more than 1 or 2 years, but they needed somebody that was experienced.
I think Gus is a Band-Aid, a short-term Band-Aid.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side, just the fact that I'm sure they told him, here are the options. We can either get rid of everybody You included, or you get rid of these coordinators. He did it.
Mm-hmm.
And he also went in and spent some of his own money. I don't know the full details of that.
Yeah, but you're talking about the $4.5 million for a donation.
Yeah, I'm like, that's a lot of money.
It is. Yeah, but if you read the fine print, it was. If we fire him after this year, he gets it all back. It was a very friendly deal that made him endear him a little more with the.
It was good faith, and it was a very good public
faith, yeah.
The only other thing that I'll note is that at the end last year, they really turned it on in recruiting. At the end of October, early November, I thought, man, they might not get more than 15 kids in this class. Right. They signed like 22 or something. I forget what it was, but it was somewhere right around there. He was part of that. And there is nobody that runs a Florida State page that's more harsh on Mike than me. And I don't think it's very close.
And Brian, I'm sorry. That's one of the big reasons I wanted you on today. Besides the fact I respect your opinion and you know what you're talking about, you're not afraid to say it like it is with Mike. And
well,
I mean, ask you that.
It needed to be said last year. Yeah. It still does as a reminder occasionally, but he's improved because he's letting other people coach. I thought the Tony White hire by itself was elite.
I never saw that coming.
Yeah, I didn't need. Again, I don't know the connection there, but the only thing like the safeties coach is a South Florida guy. I'm guessing
Tony said he knew Mike. He knew Mike, and he tried to get there at Memphis with him.
Yeah, so that was probably the connection.
They probably.
Yeah, so that was the I guess.
Yeah,
and it all worked out. Hey, use the
right
the opportunities.
He called Jimmy and said, "I'm on a life raft here. You better get me somebody."
Yeah. So anyway, he made the right hires.
Yeah.
Now, let me put it to you this way: I think they'll be 7-5 or 8-4 this year. And I know that's not where Noel fans want them to be, but whatever. They're going to finish with somewhere between the 12th and 15th recruiting class. The key is whether I don't think that he can petition the NCAA for another year. I don't know who quarterback's going to be next year. Sperry's probably not ready. I don't think they got anybody else on the roster that's ready. They got a lot of iffiness with quarterback. But that aside, they're going to have to eat it with the transfer portal this coming season or the year after, one or the other. And here's what I mean by that. If you look at the teams at the top of college, I mean, the absolute, no doubt about it, top. If you go through and you look 24/7 rivals, whatever, you count how many players are taken in from the portal. Mm-hmm. It's between like 8 and 12. Florida State's taken 23. Yeah. They're going to have to eat it one of these years. And I know that's not, you don't want to regret. You're going to have to take it on the chin, play the same players, and the next year come back with like 18 starters. That's how they're going to get back their culture, because right now Florida State's culture is still iffy. They're still afraid.
Kind of like what Clemson's done. They've eaten it and not gone to the portal, and they've built depth and experience.
The Final Four last year, Notre Dame, Penn State, Ohio State, and Texas. You know how many portal players they had last year combined?
No.
35. Florida State took 23 this year themselves.
Wow.
You've got to eat it. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because you're going to get your you-know-what kicks, because you're going to be under – the portal will get you to a bowl. It's not going to get you to a title. So Arizona State was the only team last year, and that was just lightning in a bottle. I mean, I don't know what the Cam Scatterboo thing was. That was unbelievable. Like most of their offensive linemen were portal guys. And quarterback. That guy can coach, by the way. He's tremendous.
Yeah.
But that's the anomaly. Like once every 5 years, there'll be a team like that, and they still didn't even make the Final Four. So I digress. Florida State has to get back to recruiting high school kids, and this is the key for Norvell. Will he A, accept that? I highly doubt he does, because most coaches are impatient. And B, is he going to be able to not just recruit high school kids? Is he going to, again, like I started, elite offensive linemen? Not good. Elite. This next class, they've got to get the guys that are just dudes.
Yeah.
Period. The kids that Notre Dame wants. The kids at Penn State want. The kids at Texas want. The kids at Georgia want. If they don't get those kids, it will be 8-4, 9-3. Go to the Cheez-It Bowl, and nobody will be happy.
I mean,
it's that simple.
Yeah, you mean you follow recruiting. My friend from Florida State, his son, elite level offensive lineman. He went to Florida State, obviously played there. His wife, his son's going to Ohio State.
Oh yeah.
Can't blame. His dad and I are really close friends. We haven't talked about that, but I don't blame him.
He's still going to go to a game this year, but like it's not comparable between the two programs.
No, as a parent, you're supposed to help guide your kid to the best choice possible.
Yeah, and NIL and all that stuff's going to be similar. Would you rather be blocking for your quarterback to throw to Jeremiah Smith? I mean, I would. Yeah.
But it's funny. I went to the Ohio State-Michigan game last year. I went to Texas-Clemson. Part of the channel is I'm going to different college games and vlogging it, kind of from a Florida State perspective. But anyway, I had a little Florida State stuff on, and I was waiting to get hammered last year. And they all said the same stuff to me. And maybe I'm getting off topic here. I'm sorry. They said, you're not a 2-win team. You're not a 2-win roster. What could have possibly gone wrong last year?
Everything's went wrong.
Well, that's what I said. But I was waiting to hear, man, you guys are going to be bad for a long time. You guys are. They said, we don't understand. So I explained our coaching was a disaster. We brought in the wrong portal players. But it was interesting how the respect we still had at Florida State. People really said it's a one-year anomaly. I said, I don't know because I don't trust the head man right now. If I trusted the head man, that's why I didn't even care about originally the coordinator hires or any of those hires because I didn't trust Mike. I haven't liked some of his hires to begin with. When he hired Fuller, I was not happy. I thought it was a rushed hire, and he was settling. Tony White changed my mind because he's an alpha. Mike's never had alpha coaches there. I mean, other than Odell, but Odell's a legacy and legend, but an alpha that's going to walk in and say, no, this is not right. And Mike's so loyal, he needs that. Because you talked about there might be more guys coming down the pike, and I used to love in the 90s. I know I'm going back to the 90s, I'm sorry. Coach Bowden, we might have a star player. If he screwed up a lot in the summer, you came in third team, maybe even below that, and you had to work your way back up. But that's why he would earn the respect of his teammates back for doing the right thing. I wouldn't see that with Jimbo, and I wouldn't see that with Mike, and that worried me. So I was so glad with Conrad Hussey the other day. Not that I don't wish ill will in the kid, but it was the right choice. Obviously, Mike's probably a little hesitant because St. Thomas is a huge school for us, and you don't want to upset the coaches there with one of their players.
I have a feeling that I know Roger, the head coach there. He suffers no fools.
Right.
Won't be a problem. So.
No, and I'm sure if he says this is what happened, we had no choice. But yeah, so that's why. Herb Hand, I like the guy. What I'm happy about is, and please tell me anything else, is besides the fact I think he's a really good recruiter, he knows what Gus wants.
Yeah, they go pretty well together.
Right. So I guess in game plan meetings, he can tell Gus third down, this ain't gonna work.
Well, I mean, he's been around it forever. He's coached at Texas and Auburn and UCF, like he's been around it. So I would imagine so. Now that still leads into the other question that I'm just like, I don't know. And obviously I'm an opinionated guy, but they've got 5 transfers that are going to start this year on the O-line. Somehow, like I mentioned earlier, they're going to have to eat it at some point. They got to start 2 or 3 of the guys that are backups this year and go in. No coach wants to hear there's like rebuilding with a bunch of new linemen. You can't just go to the portal every O-line. You'll never get the elite kids. Never.
I agree. That's what Trickett did in the beginning. He ate it with some freshmen.
You got to do that, man. You got to take
by the end, they were studs.
You know, and like redshirt freshmen are going to make mental errors. And you're probably going to lose a couple of games, but if they don't get the reps, it's not going to happen. So they need to start 2 or 3, and I'm not saying which ones. Maybe I'm super high on Mario Nash, but he's a freshman this year. He's not ready to play. Next year, as a redshirt freshman, he might be. Daniels, he's a guy that was an Under Armour All-American out of Pensacola. I saw him at the Under Armour game. Is he going to be ready? He's a redshirt freshman now. Like some of these guys, minimum 2 of them, if not
Lucas Simmons.
If Simmons doesn't start next year, he's never going to get it.
Yeah.
So he'll be a redshirt junior next year. Mm-hmm. You know, this is his 3rd year as it is. So if they want to bring in 1 or 2 transfers, that's okay. But that needs to be kind of the end of the train with O-line. Then if you really look at it, maybe 1 linebacker, maybe a defensive end, like just like 1 guy here, 1 guy there. That's the same thing Notre Dame does. That's the same thing Texas does, etc. You have to be able to tell kids that you're recruiting that we're not going to portal over you. I've had a lot of conversations with recruits about that, and I don't blame them. Parents are leery of it too. Florida State, I think, has reached its ceiling in recruiting right now because of the portal. The elite kids don't want to go there. They're not going to wait.
Mhm.
They're not going to do it.
No.
So
the NIL is going to be comparable anywhere.
Yeah, pretty much. So I would imagine that Florida State is leery of what I'm saying, but you will see me go off on Locked On Seminoles if they go all in on the portal this offseason.
I know
that sucks because you'll win more games by doing that next year, but your ceiling is really low.
No, it's a Band-Aid. Like, I'm believing now the 2023 season was a Band-Aid.
They hit on everything.
You hit on everybody, but long term, it bit Mike last year.
Yeah,
going that route.
What was the thing?
I used to defend him on that. I guess I was wrong. I used to say, man, these are guys too.
13 guys went to the NFL after the 12. I mean, it was just insane.
Yeah.
So, and about half of them, if not more, they were maybe even been like 10 were portal guys. Yeah. That's not going to happen again. It's kind of like what Arizona State did.
Yeah.
There's a team like that every year that it's random, but you can get snake bitten. Now, with Arizona State, just to use a comparison, they took a lot of underclassmen transfers. Mm-hmm. They got like 19 starters back.
Right.
Florida State took a bunch of fifth-year senior guys. Totally different animal. And then when those guys left, they got all the reps. The 24 got around except for about 5 to 8 guys, and a few of them had meitis. We know who they are. A few of them have transferred since.
Yep.
They were cancers. Part of them were playing on defense in that North Carolina game that I was screaming about. That's what happens. So, like, Virginia was better than Florida State. Like, everybody in the league was better than Florida State. Mm-hmm. That should never be the case. So, anyway, again, if you don't learn anything else from this podcast, note at some point Florida State's going to have to take one on the chin, more than likely, and go the developmental route for a season and start a bunch of sophomores and juniors.
But wouldn't that be a good time then to do that with a quarterback as well?
That's what I mean. That way, Sperry, I don't know if that's a debatable topic based on how much they see development from him this year. Mike made mention, that's a good segue. Mike made mention the other day on his press conference, hey, he's coming along. He's getting more chances. Backup's been out. So he's taken that role. He's gotten better. That's all you can do is just ask him to get better. But we both know that quarterbacks, they got to have game reps to be good. I went back last day or two ago, look at 24 out of the top 25 quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. There was one that was either a freshman or sophomore. They're all juniors, seniors, and fifth-year seniors.
Yeah, it's one of those positions. That's why when I brought up Chroma, I had that in mind. Well, he's a running back.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like running back is one of two or three.
Right, receivers too. Skill position.
Somebody's ass.
Yeah.
If like I've seen Chroma play live, like he could play wide receiver. Mm-hmm. He catches the ball over his shoulder, all that stuff. He played at Lee County, which is one of the best programs in the country. He knows what it looks like, and he's a great guy.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
He could have fit in at Miami. He could have fit in at Boston. It didn't matter. He was going to go somewhere and be a guy.
Yeah.
That's fine. Exception, not the rule. And he's a running back. So I would love for Sperry to get some playing time in games 2 and 3 because they're playing garbage teams.
Right.
I mean, what is it? East Texas A&M and
Texas and Kent State.
He's got
with a bye week in the middle, so that's some time to.
He's got to get live reps and see what it's like to get tackled by college players. He's a big kid. He can run, but he has to see what it's like because he's going to play terrible even against that because he's not going to make the right reads, and they're going to have to coach him. Guys that age, you usually got to show them about their own film for them to believe it. 18-year-olds are pretty stubborn, so I think that's important for the program, regardless of what happens against Bama, and we can get into that. But I think that Florida State is going to be pretty competitive with them too, to be honest.
I want to get into that soon, but I got one last question about Gus. What should you covered him at UCF. I just remember him from Auburn, so I didn't really, other than the national title stuff, what should we expect from him from a media standpoint, in-game coaching, how he handles players during games, practice? What should we expect? Because he's an alpha too.
Really nice man. Wife's a great gal. He's a good person. as far as how he handles everything, he's a respectful person. He's a very religious man. I think that he will do pretty well. But as far as media, he's not going to give you anything. Like he gives a bunch of no answers.
I like that.
It's just he's terrible with as a person that covers that stuff.
Right,
it was awful, but whatever. More importantly, he's a guy that the players will respect because he's fun just to talk with, just in general practice chatting. But he's all about football and doing it the right way. He's about this is the path. You either follow it or you don't. He does it in a nicer manner, but it's quite honestly similar to Coach White. So
really? Okay.
Yeah, like he knows what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's been to 2 national championship games. He knows what it looks like.
Right, and he can tell the players that this is how you do it. Now he's no nonsense, I would imagine, with the players, right?
Yeah, he's pretty old school, to put it mildly. He's pretty old.
He'll pull you real quick if you screw up.
Yeah.
My issue with Atkins, I don't understand Norvell called the plays and did all that, but when I saw when he stumbled that line last year, that he was playing guys with half a body before young kids with potential. That's why I know I'm harping on last year, and I apologize, but that's what I wanted to see from the new coaches: a Herb and a Gus. Like, you got to come out. If you can't do it, I'll find somebody else that will. The old adage.
Yeah, I mean, Florida State was so bad; it was unreal.
Yeah, that's true. But because I'm excited about it. Do you think so? He's obviously calling the plays. Will Gus also make the decisions on 4th down, or is that a discussion?
That is something that I have not heard. Right. I don't have an opinion on that. I would guess they're just going to have a play sheet. Mm-hmm. And they'll probably just go with it based on who's the hot hand for that circumstance.
Right.
Just use common sense. That's what most coaches do, but I have not heard.
That's what I'm wondering. 4th and 3, do we go for it or not? Obviously, it's a conversation with Mike and Gus. I'm curious I'm going to watch Mike and see how much he's on the headsets during games. I think that's the key. The more he's on the headset, the more he's getting involved in the offense.
Gus, I wonder if Gus is going to be on the field or up in the box. Mm-hmm. I have no idea. I would assume on the field because he's a hands-on guy.
Right.
But if he's on the field, that means Mike doesn't need the headset as much. He can just stand next to him and talk to him.
And Tim Harris can be in the booth.
Right.
Who knows his language.
Yeah, Tim's a very knowledgeable guy, and he knows Gus very well. I know Tim, get along with him. Well, really good guy. They're in a good spot there. Mm-hmm. They're in a good spot.
I'm hearing great returns with him.
Well, he can recruit. And he's a guy that understands what it looks like. I mean, he was a track star at Miami, ironically. And he's from the Miami Public League. And his dad is Ice Harris, who won state titles at Miami, Booker T. Washington. That he took over and won. Like, he knows what it looks like. So
his brother played at Miami.
Yeah. So, like, he gets it. Now the question is, how does it all translate with so many new players? Except for Landon Thomas, every player that they start on offense this year will be a transfer.
And most of them are a first-year guy.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like most. And, well, then there's Boggs. I assume, so I should say 2. Boggs, I think, will start. So that would be 2. But still, 2 out of 11 players on your offense out of the high school ranks is an atrocity. So that's What's that?
In year 6 of your
That's regime. What I mean. Like, I'm just going to bring it up again. At some point, you got to take that hit and cut yourself off on the portal. I think it needs to be this year. I don't think they will. But again, that's how you go 8-4, not how you make the playoff.
I think the only way Mike will do that is if he knows he has stability here. Because he's coaching where I have to win this year now. Or I'm done.
This year he was kind of screwed, especially with the O-line.
Right.
That part, like O-line is a really touchy thing. And they did a really good job with who they got.
Right.
That's cool. Unfortunately, they still have a long way to go as it relates to the ability to get those top guys in the door. They're going to have some of their high school kids hit. This is a long process. If it took 4 years from like right now to get to where it wouldn't shock me. But again, at some point, you're going to have a year where you take like 8 transfer portal guys and you probably dip some. That way, the next year
you also have to sign a higher level quarterback. He really hasn't brought in the elite of the elite. No. And those linemen want to play with those guys.
Well, that's part of it. They look at the linemen you're bringing in and stuff.
Yeah.
It's
interesting. Because those quarterbacks attract the top offensive linemen. Because they go and recruit for you.
Hand to hand. They go hand in hand. Florida State has there are about 18 programs over the last 35, 40 years that can win it. Florida State is one of them. Right now, you could argue they have the worst culture of any of those main programs because of last year.
Right.
What quarterback's going to want to jump in that boat?
Right. And then what offensive lineman's going to want to follow?
That's what I mean. So those guys tick a little bit differently. They look at it from a group big box perspective, which is why they're so key. Where's Florida State failed? O-line and quarterback. Especially that 20 to 22 range in high school recruiting. Just an atrocity.
Oh.
So if they're going to get back, and Sperry might be the guy to get them over the top because he fits Gus's offense to a T. Mm-hmm. That could be your starting point. They've got a good quarterback in this class too. He's a kid I've been around. He's got a big arm. They just got to get one every year now. And somebody hits. I mean, you never know. But they got to get one every year now, and they got to keep getting better and better and try to out-recruit the last kid. That's how it works. So Bowden did that. It took a long time, but if you stick with it, it can get you to where you need to be.
I completely agree. That's such a great point. So you touched on it earlier, so I'm going to bring it up. First game out of the gate, Alabama. Well, I would have loved one of those East Texas games or Kent State to be the opener. We have the Crimson Tide. Do you right now see a path to victory in that game, or is it one of those you made a great point in your show the other night, not just to put you over, but I didn't even think about it. You're really confident that they're not going to just blow our D-line off the ball.
Florida State is so gosh darn big, I'd be surprised.
Right.
Williams, obviously Darrell Jackson, he's as freaky a player as there is in college football. Those two and Jason Jenkins, those guys are Sunday players if they stay healthy this year and they just do what they're told. Chances are at least one of them won't. It sounds like Darrell is on the path. It sounds like he really is. And they believe in Williams. Jenkins has just been banged up. We'll see. They got McCray and some other guys. I'm looking at the depth chart on my computer real quick, make sure I don't quote unquote leave anybody. There's Kevin always Wynn, somebody.
Yeah.
So okay, they need at least one of Diamante Diggs and Deontay McCray to hit. And they really need, and I haven't heard much about him. What's going on with KJ Sampson? I have not heard diddly about him.
From what I hear, Kevin Wynn has surpassed those guys.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Kevin Wynn's an animal. He's an NFL player. And then Daniel Lyons is a guy that's been banged up that's getting back into it too. They got so many 290 and up size players up front. I don't think Alabama will just run the ball on Florida State. I really don't.
And they announced that H.M. Miller's out for the game.
Oh, really? What's wrong with Jam?
He had surgery.
Oh, well, let me guess. He had a knee injury.
I believe so, but I will confirm it.
That's too bad.
Yeah, I hate seeing that. It's just an injury, and he had surgery.
If he had surgery, that means he ain't playing anytime soon.
Right. So. But it's Alabama. They're going to have running backs.
They got plenty. But bottom line is still the same. Florida State is not nearly as talented as Alabama. Alabama, the only thing that just to answer your question, they've got to turn it over, I would say 3 times. And that's possible.
Okay.
But Ty Simpson, what's he got, 50 career passes, something like that? I mean, it's not a lot. I have no idea. But he's throwing to Ryan Williams.
And Bernard and Isaiah Horton is your third guy, and that they're high on that tight end transfer, Cuevas.
Yep.
So I've not talked about much about.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've gotten some pushback on my channel when I've said there's no way Florida State's covering Ryan Williams one-on-one. People, let me put it in his perspective how fast he is. When he was a sophomore in high school, he was not healthy. His hammy was a little bit messed up. He still ran 10.3.
With a hammy.
Yeah. So
no,
he's the truth. They don't have somebody to cover
him. I don't know. I think he's arguably top 1 or 2 receiver in the country.
Him and I'll take Jeremiah number 1.
Oh, Jeremiah, yeah.
After that, it's probably Ryan.
Right.
So there aren't 3 guys in the country that I would think could do much more than 1 out of 3 against him in space. So Florida State's going to play zone, try to box him, and try to use that to get turnovers. And if it doesn't work, they'll get run out of the stadium. Zone is either it's boom or bust, because if a quarterback's patient, you just pick it apart.
Mm-hmm.
However, Again, he's got like 50 career passes. Is Ty Simpson ready? I have no idea. So they got a bevy of running backs. They got the best left tackle in college football and Caden Proctor.
Yeah.
Got great receivers. Okay, I'm picking Alabama to win. Anybody that wants to pick Florida State, you go right ahead.
I can't.
I go with common sense. Florida State is not as good. They've got to be minimum +2 in turnovers and create at least 3. Like they need a couple gimme touchdowns. Special teams, block punt. Sam Singleton returns a kickoff for a touchdown. A tip pass goes for an interception. Elijah Herring picks it off and scores. They've got to get freebies because Alabama
luck and some penalty help maybe.
Yeah, like the crowd noise. Like they get into the red zone and Florida State gets a sack and they go into pass pro and the offensive tackle gets nervous and he false starts and then you kick a long field goal and he misses. Like you need a few advantages and Doak can cause those things. That's a crazy stadium. So I would imagine there's a chance that way, but you're not going to just beat Alabama. They're going to have to self-implode at least a little bit. And the luck factor you duly noted is also part of that as well.
No, that's why I was really honestly hoping for a night game. Those things tend to happen more at a crazy night game than a 3:30 game. I know it's football and it can happen either time, but that's why I really wanted that night game. And Castellano said that too, but you're not going to beat them straight up. Your roster versus their roster. And people are not talking about as much Ryan Grubb coming back there to help DeBoer is such a weapon.
Good coach, man.
Really great coach, and he knows what DeBoer wants. He knows his language. He's taking the pressure off Kalen.
Yeah, I would imagine he'll be there about 2 years and he'll be coaching, I don't know, UCLA or he'll go back out west and take one of the old Pac-12 jobs or Big 12 jobs. He'll be the head coach somewhere. He's a good coach.
Or the NFL, because he was there.
Yeah, that's possible.
So that's my path to victory is we have to get some luck. And we can't make mistakes or it can get ugly quick.
Yeah, I agree. So there's just too much newness with Florida State.
Right, they're learning a new system in that game.
Yeah, that's a rough road to go, man. But you'll get your barometer. And I said this the other day on Locked On Seminoles. I think they'll beat either Miami or Florida, even if they're not really predicted. Both those teams don't have great coaching staffs. There's a lot of volatility, especially with DJ Lagway. There's so many things. Florida State's going to have a wild ride again this year. Don't look at it from who they beat. Just root for the Noles, and there's going to be a few surprises, good and bad. Like they got a Friday night game at Virginia. I do not like that game.
Me too.
Yeah, you can't tell me that Florida State's players will be up for that game. They will not be. I don't care if they threaten their lives at practice. They're not going to do what they're supposed to do. That's just how this.
And you're coming off 2 cupcakes.
Yeah, so you have to take games serious right now. Florida State. Bud Elliott, buddy of mine, mentioned this the other day on the Nolecast. He's like, they don't always take ACC games serious.
Yeah.
And he's right. Just a lot of schools are that way. And until you do, it's difficult. Well, look at Notre Dame. They lost to Northern Illinois last year. When you take somebody lightly, you could lose to anybody. Notre Dame ended up in the national title game. It just shows you how wild college can be. So, but Notre Dame, they have a much better culture than Florida State right now. So I'm more concerned about it from a Noel perspective. I would imagine that as long as they don't get hammered by Bama and they show up, I'm picking Bama for whatever it's worth, 31-21. If they're competitive in that game, they show out well, they're going to end up in a bowl. They can't go out there and get beat 41-10. If they do that, this season can go sideways.
Ooh. Yeah, he's on the hot seat. Even before ACC play. I just can't see he wouldn't be. Yeah, if they just look like like last year, inept and
do they have enough money to do anything with that, though? It's still his contract.
I don't know. It's easy for me to say that when I'm not writing the check.
It's a big one, bro.
I tell you, one game you mentioned Virginia. I don't like that game. I never like going to Raleigh, especially on a Friday night.
That game's the week before they play Florida, too. So there's a lot of different nuances to that game. They've got a quarterback, CJ Bailey. He was Jeremiah Smith's quarterback at Chaminade Madonna in South Florida in high school. Second-year quarterback. He's got a cannon. They've got nothing to lose. That program's not going anywhere. Yeah. Florida State takes that game lightly. They'll come out with an L.
It's always loud there in a hostile environment.
That for a program that usually wins 6 to 7 games, they're a bunch of nut jobs.
They are.
I give that fan base credit because they're never going anywhere. They can't get the players.
But it's always a tough place to go play. Even in our best days, it's been a house of horrors for us. Virginia too. So that's why when I saw this team, but the one that I'll say worries me is if we take Pittsburgh lightly. You ever take a Pat Narduzzi team lightly?
Especially
They're always where they're supposed to be, and they will punch you in the mouth, and they're so physical. And before you know it, you're down 17-0 and wondering what happened.
Yep.
So
I think Florida State kind of knows that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're taken as lightly as some of the other, but like Virginia, you're not, Wake Forest, those kind of teams, they're just not going to take them serious. And they shouldn't have to worry about it. Even their B game should win that. But last year, their A game couldn't win, and they did, it didn't matter who they played.
That's the truth, man. But man, Brian, I promise I wouldn't keep you all day. But man, thank you so much for coming. Brian, anything you want to talk about? Your show, Florida State, anything, please.
If you want to catch my work, I've got 2 different podcasts on the Locked On Podcast Network. One of them is called The Portal. We cover recruiting, NIL, and the transfer portal. Every day, talking about different recruiting classes. I'm doing matchups. I'm actually working on the Miami versus Notre Dame game with all the matchups and recruiting stuff with that for a podcast later tonight. I've got a live show at 8:00 tonight. And then with Florida State, it's Locked On Seminoles, roster, all the different moves, any camp information, you name it, recruiting, every day, Locked On Seminoles.
Well, I guess I'll ask you that then. Notre Dame, Miami. Does Notre Dame have a chance in that game?
I think Notre Dame's the far better team because of their culture again. I don't trust Mario on game day. I think that's kind of self-explanatory. Yeah. And it's at Miami. If it was a neutral site, I think Notre Dame would smoke them. But that place will be loud. It'll be crazy. So we'll see.
With a new quarterback too. Yeah.
What's that?
With a new quarterback at Notre Dame too.
Oh yeah. They got talent, but again, it's college football. Every couple of years, you got a new quarterback. That's why it's so hard to project college.
Yeah, and we can't end up talking about that game. So, lastly, what's one thing to really look for with Florida State this year?
I would say the ability to master the coverages. It's a completely different scheme on defense, a lot more zone. If by the 3rd or 4th game, we're not hearing Tony White talk about, hey, we've got this down, blah, 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 that's probably a little bit of a pause for me. And if by midseason he's not saying it's flat out concern. It's a different scheme. Like it's like you speak Spanish growing up, and now you got to immediately learn French. They played man, now they're playing zone. They got to figure that out. So we need to see.
They got a blitz at all? Do they blitz?
I have not heard much about that, and they're not giving it away because they're playing Bama.
That's true. But
so I just know it's zone, but there's a lot of nuances to it. One guy misses, it's a walk-in touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm afraid of that. Week 1. But I'm going to end positively. Brian, thank you so much again for your time. Your insight's incredible. I listen to your podcast every day, and I enjoyed chiming in on your live streams. It's always a great time as well. So once again, Brian, thank you. Football season's around the corner, 13 days away. Hard to believe. Brian, I hope to see you somewhere at a game or something sometime.
All right, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much. It was an awesome time. Everyone, take care, and football season's around the corner.